in the current wake of the things, how the way things are shaping up, especially in the economic scenario and more to do in the job market, needless to say, the kind of challenges, and especially in the current walk of the things, maybe because of pandemic or any other economic slowdown related aspect, more than any other time, now people are realizing that only having plan A as an option in life when it comes to source of income would not be sufficient. So that means people are understanding that the SSI model is not the smartest way to work. One needs to migrate from SSI model to an MSI model, where SSI is single source of income and MSI is multiple source of income. So while plan A is already available, it makes more sense to simultaneously start looking for and start working around and create a pipeline towards plan B in life. While I had been discussing with this concept around various people when they reach out to me and they ask me that how one can make a decision around what is the best option to go for, while they realize and understand that it is important to have a plan B in life, but how to make a judgment, how to objectively conclude. More often than not, I have seen people, their decision making process is more driven by either emotions or ignorance or lack of information, and not giving enough heed and detailing to fact and data based approach towards making a decision, a logical conclusion. So what I thought was it would be worthwhile to help individuals, maybe you or anybody else who would like to identify and look at various alternatives and options in probably the most objective way, and then come to any logical conclusion that what makes more sense to pursue in life. Now, this approach, while I am sharing this in the context from a opportunity to become an entrepreneur from that viewpoint, while this would definitely be helpful for you if you're pursuing that, and also it would be equally helpful for you for any other similar important decision making process in your life. Hi, my name is Shrikant Iyengar and I'm a transformation coach and mind power expert. So let me take you through this method, which might be pretty useful and interesting at the same time. Let's jump in straight away. So before getting into the little technicality or the tool part of how to evaluate, an important concept which I want to share with you, which had been put forth by none other than Robert Kiyosaki. Now, what Robert Kiyosaki says that there are 4 legitimate ways to make money in this world. Which are those 4? These can be divided into 4 different quadrants. So as you can see on your screen, this had been described in pretty detail in his one of the best-selling books from Robert Kiyosaki, that is Cash Flow Quadrant. So wherein he has divided 4 quadrants and placed these 4 options or alternatives for anybody who can choose that path. The first one is the employee quadrant. In the employee quadrant, people typically they have a job and they work for an employer and are trading their time and skill with that employer and are getting paid based on that. The second quadrant is the S1, that is the self-employed people. In E, where people have a job, in S quadrant, people typically they own a job, which is pretty similar than an employee quadrant, but people again fail to differentiate between these, where similar to employee quadrant, here also it is very largely dependent on the specialization what an individual might be having, and also the skill and time need to be traded here for the money what a person in this quadrant would earn, right? So the broad difference would be in E quadrant you would be doing a job, in S quadrant you would be owning a job. However, the time and effort required would be far higher, especially in the S quadrant. The third quadrant is the B quadrant, where we are talking about bigger business. Now here, bigger businesses are not driven specifically by an individual's skill or their personal commitment when it comes to time. This particular quadrant is where it is predominantly driven by creating a system. So that means the system runs and the person who is owning that system actually gets benefited big time, because that person is able to leverage the time and effort of other people in a much more smarter way. And The key role that individual plays is creating that ecosystem, and that ecosystem is powerful enough to make things work in a kind of automated way or in an autopilot fashion. The fourth quadrant is the investor quadrant, where typically people who have massive wealth, they work towards creating money, where money works for money, right? So this is the fourth quadrant. Typically, in a journey when an individual might be going through, that person might be in any of those four quadrant. However, if you talk about an entity is not which keeps on traveling from one quadrant to another quadrant. It is we as individual, as people, who choose consciously that which quadrant we would like to be in our life. Interesting fact is, if you go by data, 97% of people who are there on this planet, they tend to fall on the left side of the quadrant. That means either on an E quadrant or an S quadrant. Around 96 to 97% of people. And on the other side, either 4 or 3% of people only on this planet, they fall on the B or I quadrant, that is on the right side. While this fact is quite astonishing when it comes to the population part of division between these two sides, left and right side, equally interesting and astonishing fact is that when it comes to wealth, the division of wealth is exactly the opposite. That means on this planet, around 96% of wealth is controlled and commanded by people on the right side, where the population is only 3 to 4%, and they control and command around 96 to 97% of wealth. Whereas on the other side, on the left side, where 97% of the people on this planet are there, between these 97% people, the remaining 3 to 4% of wealth is divided. This is a fact, and it had been established through research and data, right? Besides that, when we talk about these two quadrants, it's important to understand and also think about that what is that which differentiate people on the right side, where they are able to control and command this kind of massive wealth all over. One of the key factors which differentiate between these two category of people, very importantly, is the mindset what they have. The mindset is what actually differentiates between these two. While we are talking about mindset, let's also quickly look into that what are the key elements with respect to mindset between these two which are differentiating. First one, the people on the left side, they are more driven by security, stability, and things like that. That means somewhere the fear emotion is more predominant, where they for them it is more about security and stability more than anything else. That means they would like to have a predictable pattern in their life. Whereas people on the right side, the B and I category, they are more driven by freedom. They are not as much driven by security and stability. What is of prime importance for them is to have freedom for themselves, freedom for money, freedom for time, both of that. Second one important aspect which differentiate is the people on the left side, they are more driven by the money. That means their life revolves around paycheck to paycheck. Whereas people on the right side, they work towards creating wealth over a period of time. They are not very highly motivated by monthly or weekly paychecks. They are more motivated by what is the kind of wealth they would be able to create over a period of time. Wealth, absolutely, it means abundance of money as well as abundance of time at their disposal. So that means money and time both at their disposal is what they have a vision for to achieve, the people on the right side. The third important differentiator is that people on the left side, they are more driven by instant gratification. That means if the work and effort has been taken or provided, the effort or service has been provided, they would like to have the payouts coming up immediately to them, right? They cannot have a viewpoint of delaying the gratification in any way, right? So if the work is done, they would like to get paid out immediately. Whereas people on the right side, they are very clear and have the cognizance of this fact that if the time and effort is being put on creating and building something, it would not yield immediate results. So typically they have the mindset of a farmer, wherein the farmer understands very clearly that once a seed is sown, or rather once multiple seeds are sown in the farm, the land would take gestation period to create a plant or a tree or a flower out of it, right? That means for the tree to come up and to bear fruits, it would take time. So they would never like to rush with the process from a seed to a fruit, right? So the people on the right side, they understand this pretty well, and they accept this fact, and they manage their life around this basic understanding that the gratification would be delayed. The fourth important aspect is that the people on the left side, they are traders of their own time and skill. So whatever they get paid for is based on the time what they provide in terms of hours or days, and the kind of skill which they are able to deliver in the form of value to their potential client or customer. Whereas people on the right side, they play it smart enough, more than their own time and skill, they actually leverage other people's time, skill, as well as money, all of these three aspects. So while they are able to leverage, they are able to multiply and are able to grow it exponentially for themselves, right? So while these are the key differentiating factors, needless to say, a very, very important differentiating factor which is overarching on all the above ones is the people on the left side, they are more driven by the how part, the what part. They are more wanting to understand the nuts, bolts, and washers about the work which is involved to execute, where they would be able to display their skill sets in a more predominant way. Whereas people on the right side, they are not as much driven by the how or what part. They are not bothered about the what or how part as much. They are more bothered and driven by the why part, the burning platform, the reason what they want to achieve, their dream, their vision is what is driving them more strongly than the how and what part. They understand these factor very clearly, that if the why is strong, the what and how can be figured out. There is enough skill set available out in the outside world where either one can learn the what and how part, and also if possible they can hire people who have that expertise and skill sets when it comes to the what and how part. That's how the people on the right side are driven. Now, why I am sharing this concept of ESBI even before getting into the details of the opportunity is to help you understand and come to a logical conclusion, to give you a perspective that where currently you stand when it comes to which is your quadrant currently you are at, and in future going ahead, what is the quadrant which you would like to migrate and you are able to resonate more strongly. While I am not advocating any specific quadrant, because all of the quadrant, they have their own pros and cons and pluses and minuses, but the simple fact, it very clearly says that the people on the right side, that is the B and I category, they dominate majorly, and they have created systems, processes, and practices for which the people on left side, mostly they are aligned to that. When we are talking about things like financial freedom, passive income, massive wealth creation, and immense success for an individual, one should logically and ideally should aim for and aspire for to be on the right side of the quadrant, right? So the typical journey, if currently you are in E quadrant, the journey would be maybe for the time being you would like to migrate from E to S quadrant, and slowly eventually towards B quadrant, and in B quadrant spend a good enough amount of time to create that entire ecosystem which would help you to reach to an autopilot level and eventually create enough wealth where you can get into I quadrant and then start building it further in a significant way. So that's the quick take about the cash flow quadrant. Now let's move into the other dimension or the other aspect. In the other aspect, what I want to share with you is I have picked up a few of the business models and would give you a very quick brief about what are these business models, and then get into helping you understand that how these business models can be objectively evaluated and which could bring about meaningful conclusion for you, right? Let's go deeper into this. Before getting into what are those various business models, let's quickly understand that what exactly we mean by business models. A business model is something where there is a potential customer out there, and wherein you or any individual would like to provide a solution to any problem which the potential customer might be facing. So there is a potential problem or opportunity which is lying out there, which you are able to tap and create a viable solution around it. And while you are providing the viable solution in the most cost effective manner, by keeping the customer happy. Any kind of entity or business model which is able to do this is something which can be termed as a business model. So what are the various business models? While there are umpteen and n number of business models which are there outside, I have picked quite a few one which would actually include the old school methods as well as the new age methods of building a business. Now, these business models are typically where uh, people have seen decent amount or large amount of success, and these are the business models which had been there for quite some time and has proven themselves as a legitimate business model where one can actually get into that and start moving and achieving the things which one would like to have in their own respective lives. So let's quickly run through which are those business models. So first one is a manufacturing based business model where typically there is a raw material. That raw material is taken through a processing and there is a finished goods, and typically these are tangible in nature. It can be anything, right from steel to salt to anything where there is a manufacturing process which is involved. There is a huge or big setup which is there, and the raw material is converted into finished goods and the finished goods is then provided to the end customer. So any kind of manufacturing which is involved is a manufacturing based business model. The second one is a distributorship based business model where the distributor may not be directly involved in manufacturing but mainly acts as a mediator between a manufacturer and a retailer, where a distributor picks up the products or goods from the manufacturer and kind of creates a warehouse for himself and has a hub, a central hub, and from that central hub the distribution happens across various locations or towns or cities or things like that. But predominantly a distributor plays a kind of mediating role between a manufacturer, a producer, to the next level, that is the retailer. That is a distribution based business model. The third one is a retailer concept. A retailer concept is somebody, an entity which is closest to the end customer. Wherein an end customer can walk into a physical shop or a place where there would be a retailer who would be having all the kind of various kinds of goods or stuff which is available and would be selling it at a specific retail price to the end customer. So typically this is a retail based business model. The fourth one is a franchisee kind of business model. So franchisee is where there is a bigger brand or entity which is already existing, where one can actually get into doing a serious business with the major brand without wanting to reinvent the wheel, and also at the same time kind of piggyback with the parent brand and use that brand name to create or generate footfalls to your outlet and make decent business and money out of it. Where for using that brand, one has to comply with all the expectations and requirements, rules and regulations and policies governed by the parent company. It might include the location of your outlet. It might include the kind of furniture, fixtures, the color of your wall, and everything which would be determined by the parent company, including what kind of uniform, what kind of training, what kind of products need to be kept, how it needs to be displayed. Everything is as per the set guidelines by the parent company. So this is a franchisee based business model where you will have to pay royalties to the parent company, and also many a times there would be some kind of profit sharing which would also be involved in the process of taking up or picking up a franchisee. So this is another option which one can go into. The next one, the fifth one, is a brick and mortar kind of setup. This is typically an old school way of doing business where there is a traditional setup where a brick and mortar based business is followed, where the customer can directly walk into the shop or store, and a conventional way of picking up the goods and sale is what happens in a brick and mortar store. The next sixth one is an e-commerce based store, which is a further extension of how the brick and mortar used to be done in the earlier stages, in the previous way of running a business. In e-commerce is a new age extension of that, where the same process can be followed in an online kind of setup, where a virtual setup which is available and internet is used as a technology for creating the front end as well as back end part of systems and processes, where if you are wanting to create your own entity, you can have your products or services which is displayed in the store, and you will have to ensure that the entire ecosystem is created around your particular brand or whatever you would like to create using an e-commerce based approach. So typically an e-commerce based approach is an internet based business model and how it functions. The next one is something which had been picking up in the last quite a few years, is an aggregator based business model. Aggregator based business model is, again, they create a brand, but however they do not create any kind of major assets or bigger entity, but however they are able to control and scale the business very, very significantly. Typical examples of an aggregator based business model might be a Zomato or a Swiggy or an Oyo chain of hotels, or maybe Airbnb. So all of these are aggregator based business models, right? Or for that matter, Uber, Ola, all of these are aggregator based business model where they do not own any of the infrastructure majorly, or any uh, physical stuff which their capital needs to be blocked, right? So what they do is they aggregate the solution, and they create that kind of ecosystem or platform which helps in providing and controlling the kind of services or goods which they have to give it to the customer, right? The next one is an online marketplace. Now here the examples can be like a Flipkart, like an Amazon or an eBay, where they have created that platform which is a virtual marketplace for a seller to come and a consumer or buyer to come at that place, where for the seller they have a systematic process of identification, evaluation and onboarding them for their online marketplace to sell the goods which they have identified. Similarly, on the front end side, they would do all the marketing advertising which is required for the customer to come to their marketplace. So typically for whatever transaction happens, they get a healthy margin out of it. So typically these kind of models, when we talk about online marketplace, their scalability importantly, or the focus is majorly towards creating a bigger and larger customer base, and based on the kind of customer base which they are able to create, they are able to demand high market valuation over a period of time. And you can see any examples that when they are kind of taken over by any other bigger company in the form of mergers or acquisitions, while that happens, the valuation goes up big time based on the kind of customer base these bigger companies or organizations which they could have created for themselves. The next one is again a new age kind of business model which is called as drop shipping. Now, drop shipping again is had been there since last quite a few years and had picked up pretty good steam in the recent times, where in drop shipping what exactly happens is that on the front end you can create your own virtual store, but however what you can do is that you can leverage on some of the proven products and services which are there in the outside world. So you can identify any specific niche which you want, whether you would like to have a general store or whether you would like to have a niche specific store is something which you can decide as a part of your business strategy. But however, when it comes to business model, what it expects is that you should have your own e-store. And while you have your own e-store, here you can typically get tied up with an Amazon or a Flipkart or maybe AliExpress, from where you can source these products and kind of have these products being displayed at your store, and you can do the front ending part of promoting these products at a price which you would like to have, which you are comfortable with. For example, if you are sourcing and picking up any products from either an Amazon or a Flipkart or an AliExpress, which might be costing maybe say 100 rupees, but because the way you are putting it up for your customers and the kind of following or followership which you might be having for your potential customers, you might like to sell it at a little premium price, might be 150 rupees or 200 rupees. So this is something which you can have as your margin. And however, when you are able to identify and get orders from your customer, you have to simply pass on the orders to your suppliers or service provider, be it Amazon or in AliExpress, whoever, pass it on the order to them, and they would be shipping the product directly to the end customer. So here physically you need not have any kind of headache for the logistics part or maintaining the inventory of the product big time at your end. So what you are doing is you are able to generate the business, and pass on the orders to this the product or service provider, and they would be actually doing all the logistics and the shipment part. So this is also referred to as a reseller based concept. So again, many of the people would tend to follow these, and in fact there are many success stories in the dropshipping domain also. The next important one which I would like to make a mention about, again which comes under the direct selling umbrella. So be it dropshipping, the next one is in this series is the affiliate marketing based concept. Now, affiliate marketing based concept actually works on a referral based model, again which is a 100% online business setup, where if you are uh, picking up or resonating with any products or services and multiple products and services which you can identify, and you can actually promote those products and services in your social circle, and while you are promoting those products and services in your social circle, many of such providers of products and services, they have these affiliate programs. You can kind of enroll yourself for the affiliate program, where the affiliate programs might be giving you significant commissions, which might range even on the lower side, it might be around 8 to 10%, and even on the higher side, even up to 50-60% commissions are also paid out by selected providers. So you can identify such providers who are ready to pay good commissions, and you can promote their products and services by using your specific knack in your social circle and also kind of advertise on their behalf. So basically this is a referral based model, where whatever sales is generated through your referral, you are able to straight away churn in healthy commissions out of this process. There are many people who had turned millionaires out of affiliate marketing programs. So this is something which is able to create massive wealth for them. They are able to gain financial freedom and time freedom in this entire process. Another one in this series, similar on the similar lines, is this concept of network marketing, which had been in existence since like quite a few years and had seen its own ups and downs. But however, the basic model operates on the referral, self-referral based principles. That means an individual might be uh, wanting to get associated with a parent company, and the independent distributorship or representationships is provided to an individual, and that individual, using their scope of or circle of reference, they are taking the products and services to their circle of reference, and through their reference, whatever sale or turnover is generated, the margins are shared. Again, the margins would vary depending upon which parent company you are associated with, what is their compensation strategy, and things like that. But however, here the added advantage here is that in the subsequent referrals which might be happening in your line of reference, in this model of network marketing, you are also getting paid out for any indirect referrals which might be there. So whereas in affiliate marketing, you get paid out only for your direct referrals, here in network marketing, you get paid out not only for your direct referrals, but for your indirect referrals also. Other advantages more or less remain same here, wherein it does not require for you to have any kind of setup or inventory or any of such specific skills which might be required for you to run and build a business seriously around it. But however, all of these things has been taken care by the parent company. The role which predominantly people play here is to become a distributor and promote the products and services of the parent company. So basically, again, here commissions are paid out for direct as well as indirect referral over a period of time throughout the lifetime for an individual. Again, there are many success stories. Millionaires and multimillionaires have been created through this platform of network marketing. Moving on to the next one, which is a subscription based business model. Now again, it's a new age business model where typically where you are subscribing to some product or services which is required to be consumed on a retention basis, where the customers would once again repeatedly come back to consume and have that product or service. Now, subscription based business model examples can be a Netflix or an Amazon Prime or a Reliance Jio, where you actually need to go back and subscribe to what kind of product or services they are having. Any of the DTH channels, what you see, all of these are typically subscription based models. Last but not the least is a infopreneur or an edupreneur based model. Now again, in the recent years, this had been picked up big time, where people who are having some domain expertise and are good in their respective domain and have that, and they also have that subject matter expertise, and they would like and have that flair and inclination to teach people and help them learn newer things in the newer ways. An infopreneur based business model is that being at the comfort of your house in today's scenario where the information and knowledge is all over the place, one can create their own unique niche and take their knowledge to the outside world and sell that knowledge in various forms, right? Either online or offline. So basically an infopreneur is somebody who is having some subject matter knowledge and expertise and who is willing to share this knowledge at a specific price point with the outside world, be it their own social circle and beyond their social circle also. So these are the 13 different business models which I have picked up, which is a kind of mix and match of the, the earlier established business models of the old school way of doing things, and also the new age business models where some of them are picking up pretty well in the last quite a few years and had seen massive success for people who had been a part of such business models. In the next step, now once we have gained a basic level understanding of these 13 different models, business models, in the next step, I would like to help you understand what can be a tool or method which will help you to systematically evaluate such business models. So here we'll be taking these 13 as an example. You can change the permutation and combination of these 13 examples. You can remove some of those, you can add whatever you like, but important thing is understand that what is this tool and how it can help you. So let's move ahead and see how to apply this specific tool for evaluating any business opportunity or any business model. So while I'm talking about the evaluation part, the important thing here is that evaluation should be done in an objective way and keep it less to the perception of an individual and more towards objectively considering the facts and data and then arriving at an objective based approach where you could actually pin down and say that, okay, this makes more sense for me. Couple of things which are important for this. Number one is what are the things which we are evaluating? Those options should be known. Now, for example, in this particular situation, what we are considering is that the 13 options or the 13 business opportunities for any individual who would like to pursue entrepreneurship, those are the 13 options which is available. Now, how to pick which is the option which suits better for an individual is what we want to understand next. Now, how this can be done? The first thing which is required here is to list down what are the things which is important for you or which are the key factors for you which play an important role for you to come to a conclusion or making that decision, right? Identify all those key factors. Once these key factors are identified, you can broadly classify them in the form of factors which are more related to the financial part and the other aspects besides the financial or the non-financial elements which are also equally important for making a decision or conclusion. So identify those factors and classify them into these two categories, financial and non-financial. Second step which is required here is that once this classification is done, then give the importance ranking or weightage for each of those parameters or the key factors. Weightage can be on a 1 to 5 scale, weightage can be on a 1 to 10 scale, whichever suits you, you can pick. That means the 1 means it is less important, 5 means it is really high important on a 1 to 5 scale. So each of the key factors what you have identified and listed, give a importance ranking or weightage to those. Once this is done, moving on to the next step, what you should be doing is that for each of the options which you have listed, against each of the parameters which you have listed, you should be giving a rank that how much this option would be satisfying that key factor or that parameter for me. Now, how much it would be satisfying, again, you can put a ranking here. You can rank it without making it much more complex. I would suggest you can rank it on a 1 to 3 scale. You can expand that scale. Again, you can make it on a 1 to 5 or a 1 to 10 scale for ease of understanding and keeping it to 1 to 3. 1 means it is not able to satisfy. That means the score is given on the lesser side. And 3 means it is highly able to satisfy that specific key factor or parameter. That means this option is definitely satisfying that particular key factor. So give and assign a number on a 1 to 3 scale. Once this is done, then there would be a calculation part which will give you an overall score for each of that option. So let's look at this with the examples which we have identified out of the 13 options. So I have just put this tabular form. The first table what we are seeing here is a comparison which is based on the financial parameters. What are the financial parameters? What you are seeing on the left side of the screen are those 13 options in the form of an entrepreneurial or business opportunity, manufacturer, distributor, retailer, franchisee, so on and so forth, subscription of infopreneur. So all 13 are covered here. And if you see the columns which are there, the title of the columns, which are the financial parameters which are important, which I would like to consider and give due weightage before making any financial conclusion based on the opportunity. So startup capital, that means initial seeding money, what is required to get started in the business. Second is overhead expenses or the working capital which might be required to run the business on a day-to-day basis. Third is the return on investment in terms of percentage. How good would be the return on investment in terms of initial percentage and subsequently the growth part also. The fourth one is the payback period is again break-even point. How soon, how fast it is going to happen in the shortest possible time. And the fifth and last one is the cash flow or the liquidity which would be there in that kind of business model. Now, once these are identified, now again you can have something which is lesser than this. You can have some different financial parameters. It is as per you which is the one which you feel are important. So you can add and delete accordingly. Then the next thing what you should do is, as I suggested, that give weightage on a 1 to 5 scale. In this example, I have given this weightage like this. Startup capital, high weightage, 1, that is 5. Working capital overhead expenses is 4, and the remaining 3 have been ranked as 3. This weightage you give as per your importance. For you, for example, somebody who is having a startup capital at disposal, it may not be as much important initially to bother that person that much. So for that person, maybe the payback period is really very important, right? That means the shortest possible payback period is what he would be looking for. So for that person, the payback period might be ranked as 5 and startup capital might be ranked as 2 maybe. So identify what is important for you and rank accordingly. So the next step here is that to give individual score. Now, for example, if manufacturing is the option which you would like to evaluate, considering startup capital, if the startup capital is high, then you give on a 1 to 3 scale, you give the score accordingly. If the startup capital is low, again on a 1 to 3 scale, give the score accordingly. Similarly for all the other parameters also. Now you see in this example, for manufacturing scenario, I have given the startup capital which is high, so hence the ranking is less. That means it is not able to satisfy as per the desire to the level which you are wanting. So that means if the startup capital is high, definitely the score or the rank should be less, right? Similarly for overhead expense, return on investment, payback period, cash flow, liquidity, like that. And once this is done, apply a multiplying factor. That means for each of the option and each of the factors, that means startup capital which has got a weightage of 5 multiplied by 1, that is the rank which is given, plus 4 multiplied by 1, plus 3 multiplied by 1, plus 3 multiplied by 1, and plus 3 multiplied by 1. If you see the total score which comes out is 18. So 18 is the score which has been arrived at for this option of manufacturing. Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. Unless you go through this evaluation for all the options which is given, then only you will be able to compare it in a better way. Second option, distributor. Here you see the overall score which is coming is on the higher side, that is 27, right? Similarly for retailer as an option, the score is coming as 24. So on and so forth. Once you complete for all the options, you will have one specific score for each one of them. So like this, I have completed here. You can see this is the scores which are coming for all the 13 options. Now, this is not sacrosanct. Understand, the individual scores which are given, that means high, moderate or low, is based on certain facts and research which I have done, and based on my own experience and understanding, I have applied that. Your perception, your facts and research and data might be different. I would urge you to then accordingly change this course what you perceive is better, right? So, but however, an important thing, my honest request would be that don't give it based on judgment. Okay, go into the details and identify and do a proper logical comparison with the right facts and data to arrive at a more meaningful conclusion. Otherwise, the scores would be eventually misleading for you and you would end up making a wrong conclusion. So hence, the scores which are being given plays a very important role. So be mindful of that and do proper due diligence before putting specific scores to them. While I'm sharing you with this is more of an example and my own understanding and fact and data-based research which I had done, and then subsequently I have put these scores. So the ones which are circled in red, these are the 5 options which have scored maximum, which are listed down here. E-commerce, dropshipping, affiliate marketing, network marketing, infopreneur. So these are the 5 ones which is being identified as per my understanding and perception. Why? Predominantly because when we talk about financial aspects, the ones which is not requiring too much of money to get started and run the business makes more sense for any person to venture into an entrepreneurial mode. So these ones, they are scoring high because this does not require too much of startup capital or overhead expenses or working capital, even from a longer run perspective. While this is happening, hence the business model itself is more frugal and leaner in a way, and the payback period, return on investments and cash flow liquidity would also be on the higher side for the very simple and basic reason. So this is one way of doing comparison from a financial perspective. Let's quickly look into a similar approach while we are talking about the non-financial aspect. Obviously, needless to say, you are only not going to look at the financial parameters and elements for evaluating any opportunity. Looking into some of the key non-financial parameters which I have listed, because we are talking about a business opportunity here, getting into entrepreneurial mode, some of the ones which are in numbers I have listed with the ones which are more than the financial ones also. While in financial comparison, we saw only 5 parameters here. Here I have listed much more than that. So support system, the degree of control which one can have in their own business, the domain expertise, to what extent domain expertise or subject matter expertise is required for a person to get started in the business, whether you would be able to leverage or all the time you need to be personally be present to manage and run the business, to oversee and execute that. In the process, how you would be growing as an individual, as a person, what would be the personal development which you would be having, whether that platform gives you enough exposure for growth and making you a better person so that you evolve as an individual in a much better way. Very importantly, at the lowest possible cost, whether scalability is something which can happen in that business model. Scalability at the lowest cost is something which is far more important than anything else. So how scalable is the business is a important and serious consideration should be given to that. What would be the speed of growth, whether it is in the shortest possible time in few years or it takes couple of generations for that growth to be visible. And all these things, while doing all these things, whether you are able to create time for yourself so that you can pursue other interests which might be there in your life. So whether it is creating a system through which the business can run on autopilot mode and you gain that time freedom advantage for yourself. So these are the various factors which I have listed. Again, this can change. You can pick whatever you feel you resonate more with, or you can have your own elements which are listed for evaluation. Similarly, I have given weightage to each one of them. And then subsequently, I went ahead and did the ranking for each of the categories or options which are there: manufacturing, distribution, retailership, so on and so forth, all of them. So like this, again, I have given ranking based on my research, my data, and my understanding on each of these models. And I have ranked them accordingly for each of these key factors and parameters. And here again, if you see the shortlisting done for the top 5, the ones which are coming up is online marketplace, dropshipping, affiliate marketing, network marketing, infopreneur. So these are the options which based on these examples which I have given, if you follow a systematic, objective, data-based and fact-based evaluation process using this specific matrix as a tool, you will be able to do your due diligence in a more proper manner. And this is something which will help you to narrow down your choices and come to your conclusion in a better way and more closer to that. Now, while this is with an example which I am talking about, using this as a tool for evaluating business opportunities. However, you can use this tool. The beauty of this tool is something which you can take it forward for any major decisions which you are making in life. So the key things here is identify what are the parameters which are important to you. Second is what are the options which you have. Give the weightage to the parameters based on their level of importance, and rank each of the options that to what degree it is able to satisfy each of your parameters, right? So cover this completely and you would be able to come out with a score, and that score will be helping you to narrow down your choices. So this is what it takes. Just to quickly summarize the steps which I have already explained to you. You have already seen what is the outcome or the conclusion which was there. Coming to the key steps, following are the broad steps which I have already explained. Identify the various opportunities or options for evaluation, list down the key parameters and give them the importance ranking, both financial and non-financial. Then give the weightage as I've told earlier. List down all the options in the example which are shown, the 13 options which were there, listing them down. Then rank them based on to what degree they would be able to satisfy on a 1 to 3 scale. Calculate the score. The key parameter score is the product of weightage and ranking for each one of them. This is how you'll be able to come out with the score. Now, last but not the least, a couple of things which I want to touch, which are very, very important. Now, while you have been listening to me, there might be certain things or questions which might be coming up in your mind. Let me answer those questions upfront and address them. So some of the common denominators for success, which is equally applicable, that irrespective whether it is these 13 options or any other options which you would like to pursue or would like to consider pursuing. Some of the key factors for success are non-negotiable, which would be equally applicable and required whatever you pursue. Your success or failure would be largely determined by these factors more than any other score or anything of that sort. So what I mean to say is that the scores for evaluation which I have given, those are not something which would be guaranteeing you success, that once you pick up those out of those 5 options you will be having a guaranteed success. Absolutely not. These key factors are the ones which would actually determine that, irrespective whether you are picking the ones which are having a lesser score or the ones which are having a higher score, irrespective, these key factors would determine your success or failure in this journey. First one is being driven by a vision and a dream. So there has to be a burning platform for you, irrespective whatever choice you pick. Have a dream and vision and your goal set very clearly, that what is that you want to achieve, what is that you want to serve. In the journey, being committed is non-negotiable. Giving up is not an option. So be committed on your path, relentlessly keep pursuing the path whichever you pick. Third one is that while you are doing this, ensure that you are consistent on your path. One-off spikes is not something which would make you an overnight success. Consistency is the key. So keep consistently pursuing in your journey. Also, be aware and take cognizance of the fact that while you are going through this journey, you would be required to pay the price. Now, paying the price can be in any form. This can be required in the form of various sacrifices which would be there, which you have to accept and consider this as a part of process in the overall journey. Also, be prepared and be ready to temporarily sacrifice your so-called social esteem. It might happen that whatever journey you are pursuing, the social fabric and the social circle around you may not be resonating with you and may not be comfortable with your decision what you are taking. But however, if you are resonating it with strongly, please go ahead and definitely pursue that. Don't get bogged down and don't be too much bothered about what the outside world is going to say. Anyways, the world is going to say whatever they have to say. You focus on what is your dream, what is your purpose, which you want to pursue. That's a very, very important fact. More often than not, I have seen people giving up on their journey towards success at a specific point of time where the highest probability of achieving success was there, just because of the fact that there is not enough approval in their so-called social surrounding. Most of the times people tend to give up just because approvals are not there. So don't follow this approval based pattern. You need not have anybody's approval for your journey towards success and your passion and whatever things which you want to do. Also, be prepared and ready for the delayed gratification while you are on a journey to become an entrepreneur. Accept this fact that there would be initial setbacks, there would be initial losses, there would be paybacks might be happening in a delayed way. So be open and embrace the delayed gratification thought process. Also, needless to say, you would be going through a process or in this journey n number of times. You will be stumbling yourself, you will be falling down, there would be obstacles and difficulties which will come. It is not going to be bed of roses. Difficulties would be coming your way, obstacles would be coming your way, but the important thing is that falling is inevitable. But after falling, what exactly you do? Do you get up and start walking and running again, or you stay down? That is what differentiates between winners and losers. People who are on the right quadrant, the 3% of people and the 97% of people, this is the key differentiator. So as I said earlier, the mindset is what actually differentiates more than anything else. So have that mindset of never giving up attitude and keep pursuing whatever you want to achieve in your life. Last but not the least, also importantly, if you know success stories around you, don't question those success stories. The best way to do or the easiest way to do is simply be submitted to these successful people and model them and see what best they had been doing in their path, in their journey towards success. Modeling is the easiest and fastest way to achieve success. Right? So these are the key factors which are far more important and overarching than those objective scores which I shared with you earlier. So have the right balance between both of these. First step might be going through an objective evaluation on the various options which you might be considering in your entrepreneurial journey. Second important thing is that while you are doing that and you are narrowing down your funnel and arriving at one or two options which you would like to pursue, and once you are getting started in that path, consider all these key factors which are listed here in your journey, which will play a very important role for your success. So it's a good decent blend of both of these things going hand in hand, which will ensure that there is a high probability for you to become successful in your journey. This is what I wanted to share as a method and tool which will be helpful for you. So please hit the like button and also subscribe to my channel, and please leave a comment if you find these inputs which are useful, and you can also go ahead and share this in your social circle where to whom you might be finding this would be relevant. So signing off from my side, thank you so much for going through this video. I hope this would add value to you and the things which you want to. Bye bye for now.